if the playoffs started today, and we mentioned the Boz column where he was talking about how Strasburg's kind of had an uneven season. He's 10-10 with a 3.59 ERA, which is the highest ERA of the 5 starters. Although he does lead the National League in strikeouts with over 200. Dan Steinberg, if the playoffs started today and it were up to you, you're Matt Williams, who is your Game 1 starter for the Nationals?
You know, I actually changed my mind on that this morning after reading Boz's column in which he argued against Steven Strasburg. Right. I think it's Strasburg.
He
said if I had to make the call right now.
He didn't name somebody,
but he said if I had to make the call right now, it wouldn't be.
Okay.
But I think I would go with Strasburg because, God, I'm like Mr. Distraction talk nowadays. But I just think Strasburg's obviously going to be in your postseason rotation. And if he's not the number one, after he's been proclaimed the number one all year, I think there's just too many questions about what happened, what does he need to do, how could he ever reclaim that? Just kind of nonsense questions. He's going to be pitching anyhow. He's got one of the best strikeout per 9 innings ratios in the majors, which I think matters a lot in the postseason. And you know, he had a couple of really dominant starts in a row before this last one. I just wouldn't overreact based on, you know, he's had some first inning troubles for sure. He's had some control issues, but I think that the reason that we're having this conversation right now is because of one bad start his last time out. And I just would stick with the plan and not try to add something else.
The one bad start's part of it, but Boz's pointed out that about a third of his starts have been really bad. And the 2/3 have been very good.
Yeah.
But 1/3, I mean, and do you roll the dice with a Game 1 starter with the importance of Game 1? Brandon, what are your thoughts?
I keep going back and forth about this because, I mean, I know I said before the show the game was not important, and it is in a sense
You
that.
don't have to say that now.
Yeah, I'll throw it out there. We talked before the show. It is in a sense, but I'm more so concerned about the guy when it's Game 5, Game 7. Who am I going to put the ball in their hands and is going to perform? And on one hand, you could put Strasburg out there for Game 1, and then maybe that situation would be set up and he'd have the game to kind of get whatever jitters out of the way. Or I would say maybe go with a Zimmerman or a Pfister that's proven themselves consistently over time, especially Pfister, who's had that playoff experience. Like I think with the Tigers, he was in a Game 1 situation, looked terrible, and then came back and did good. So maybe that speaks to Dan's point.
So you say Pfister or Zimmerman,
honest,
maybe?
yeah.
What's your answer here? You're all over the place.
Like I said, I'm struggling, man. We'll say Zimmerman.
All right, Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Scott, what do you got?
Safe.
I'll go Doug Pfister then. You alluded to the the postseason experience that he had in Detroit. I think he's pitched 7 games. He won a Game 5 at New York. He probably has the lowest Ks per 9 of Nats starters, but he also has the fewest number of walks per 9 innings as well, which to me is more important in the postseason. He's a guy who's just been really consistent all year. He started a little bit later than some of the other guys. Jordan Zimmerman had that huge June. Tanner Roark had a huge July, but Pfister, he roughed up a little bit in his last start, but game to game, he's the guy I feel most confident about, and I think that postseason experience is invaluable.
That's my answer.
Don't change your answer. I would agree with you on Zimmerman.
The playoff experience goes along with.
But I think that to Dan's point, you know, I think that there's like this underlying what's the message that it sends to Strasburg if he's not the Game 1 guy, and how does that materialize over the next few years or the playoff series or whatever? You know, you just don't want to. I don't know if that's part of the equation or not, but that would be interesting to see.
I think in a best of 5, you can't make that.
You can't. All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see. And
don't forget with Zimmerman. To me, Zimmerman sort of is the natural choice, but don't forget he got absolutely rocked in his first playoff start 2 years ago.
Right. It'll be interesting. And Strasburg has no playoff experience, so is that a negative?
And maybe make Strasburg start Game 2 if it's at home.
Lots, man. We've got 4 weeks left to talk about this. This is great.
Or you could just shut him down.
Much more.